Hello and welcome back. So in this session, I will be modeling this in 3ds Max. I found this picture on Pinterest. Feel free to find it and use it as a reference. I'm not sure who the artist is, but I will try to build it in 3ds Max. Okay. So at first, I will be modeling I will block the model. Then I will be building the high-res one. So let's begin with blocking the shapes in 3ds Max. Then we'll start building the high-res. So when I say high-res, I do not mean all the crevices and the details. I'm just saying like each piece individually. And it would not be like a game friendly. Like I don't think a game engine would mind. It is capable of rendering it, but uh, it wouldn't be recommended. So you would need to make a low poly, then bake the normal maps, then you go from there. Okay, so let's block it out. So let's use a cube, and I will be eyeing it. So at first I'll create a box. So R to scale it. So scale in the x-axis. So you want to get it as close, but it doesn't have to be exact. So to add all the edges, all we have to do is just edit it to convert it to an editable poly. And here's a nice tip. A lot of times I do not like to work with a shaded color. I like to work with a grayscale material. So to do this is you just select the black color, and in materials select any materials, apply to the object, and from there I'll change it to standard legacy material. Good. And now let's go into the edge mode. If you want to see the edges, we just press F4. So let's select the edge and then ring, then connect. We give it two edges, two edge loops, and that to simulate those areas, the edge loop. So that's what we want to do. So we use the scale tool. So in order to use a scale tool to pull away the edge loops, you must set it to centered, so that way it gives you that freedom. And just in case, you could also do it through the connect options or settings. So let's see that again. So we select an edge and a ring, and we give it to connect. So right here, same thing as using the scale tool, but with the settings. And we pull that in. So we only use one axis. Cool. And remember, this is just a blocking stage. And right now, we will use the connect tool to build this area. So we will have two edge loops, and then an internal edge loop to create this area. So select an edge, and we usually select the edge that opposes the direction of the connect ring. We could do like 4 if we want to. But notice how there's a shape here. It follows the contour of the object. So we could make it plain. We could plane the edge connect. So the way we do it, let's reduce this to 2 and click accept the option. Then scroll down here, make it a planar. So you should select the correct axis. So like in this case, I'm not sure which axis it is, so I'll be guessing. Yeah, so it is the x-axis. So same thing here. If you double click on one edge, it will select the edge loop and plan it. Awesome. Okay, now click and control hold and click control to select the other edge as well, and use the scale tool. Again, we want to create another two edge loops. Connect 2, and maybe wanna wrap them a bit apart. Then using the polygon to push it up. So let's look at the reference. You can see they're a bit further apart. So if we click Alt X, it would switch the object to X-ray view. So we can select all those vertices, scale, then make it a bit wider. There we go. And now we want to model the top one. Again, it's just a blackout. So to do this, we use the extrude to extrude it out. So we make sure binormal. And you might be able to see an expected result. And that's due all to the deformation to the object, to the original object. So in this case, we want to do reset XForm. So we reset the selected, go back to modify tab, then collapse all. So now if we extrude the face loop, now we are seeing the expected result. Just a little bit, then this one. So here's a tip. If we click shift and move down, we are extruding also. So sometimes you have to do adjustment, which is fine. So in this stage, I wouldn't care about the geometry and how it is. It is looking. We are only focusing on plugging out the object. So if we look at it, we see it is a bit narrower than what we are seeing. So in this case, we just select the polygons and using the scale tool to make it a bit smaller. And right now we have the blocked object and we will be using it as a reference. So what we want to do is we want to add the selected object to a layer. So what we want to do is create a layer, and once you have an object selected and you click and you create a layer, it will add that object automatically to it. So we want to freeze it. That way no one can select the model and move it around. Okay. Now let's create the high poly one. So at first we want to go back to layer 0 because here it's a frozen layer, so like it wouldn't let you create objects. We want to go to an active object that's not frozen, and let us start creating the top piece. we can turn on the snap tool, but I will not do that. But in case you are wondering, you just click on the snap toggle, you right click on it, and you let it know exactly what you want to snap to. So in this case, it's snapping to a grid point. So like if you want to snap it to a reference, like in this case, you might want to do it to a vertex or maybe an edge. So I'll turn it off for now. Using the move tool. Let me turn off the snap and then create so to make a duplicate, you activate the move tool, then shift. Make sure you're in object mode, not in edge or face or vertex mode. Now it's gonna give you this option. You can say it's an instance for a copy. A copy is if you make changes to one, it will not affect the others, whereas an instance, if you make change to one, all the others will be affected as well. So in this case, we want to make another 2 copies. Maybe another one. I think you can select a see-through to an object layer, so that way you can see through it, but you might want to turn off the show and frozen. And freeze. Okay. So I'm not seeing through it. Okay. It's not an issue. Anyway. Okay. So let's select all those objects. Give them the color black. And then click M4 materials. Then assign materials as assign selected to the material. So you can do that by clicking on assign material to selection. Okay, so let's create another one. Use the scale tool to make it a bit thin. And if you notice here, we want to create this one, and this one. And we will use the connect tool to make those. So convert to edit poly. You can, if you want, to add a modifier called edit poly. That way you still have all the box properties protected if you want. You don't have to do that. So go into edge mode. Then select the connect tool. Two of those. And now use the polygon to extrude them. And use the scale tool to okay, much better. Now again with the edge tool, want to select the middle ones, then use the connect, and this time we use the blockout as a reference. Now select the face tool to extrude, Shift W and Shift, make it smaller, W, Shift again, scale and make it a bit smaller, then W. So we are looking for an arc flow. So let's select the edge tool, then use the scale tool on the x-axis to make that arc. It seems a bit wider. Let's select all those faces and use the scale tool, x-axis, to make it a bit thinner. So let's flatten out those edges using X. Same thing for this one, using X to make planar, and now much better. Just minor tweaks. There we go. So let's make one for the back as well by shift and drag, shift and move. So in the back we might not need this thing, so we are safe to remove it. delete. Then we can use the grow button to grow our selection, then delete. And now we have a missing edge here. So we can select these two and use the bridge tool to connect them. Awesome. So far we have this looking good. And now let's make the face. This is easy, just using a box. We create those edges. So a box right here. Let's use a different color. Box. Then another edge. And make it smaller. And another edge. Then another edge. Now let's get back to 3ds Max. So let's make a plane. Let's activate the template and let's make a plane. P for perspective, and P will show you the will show you the shaded will be shaded. Let's activate the material, and now you have noticed that because layer 1 is active, it made the plane in there and changed the status of it to frozen. So let's move that back. And let's change the color of the object to black, so the outline is in black. So right now this plane has, if we look at its properties, we can see it gave it a segment of 4 width and 4 in length. So all we have to do is change it to editable poly. Select edge, and if we double click on an edge, it will select the edge loop. And you know what? Let's select those edges and use scale. and scale them down. Okay. And now let's select those ones and press and hold shift and move them down. Let's select those edges, deselect the bottom ones using scale and scale them in so that it matches the template. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. P perspective, Z for focus. Then right now let's give it a width. Oh. Yeah, so like I'm seeing from the image that from the top, move it down a little bit, shift. Okay. And right around here, I'm seeing an arc, so it should be a bit smoother. So we go back here. We can use a swift loop if we want to. Okay, much better. Okay, now let's give it a let's extrude it, extrude the borders. We do that by selecting a border, then shift. There we go. And if you notice here, this is all one piece. So let's make that. So we select the edge, then extrude it out to the middle. Now let's hide so we make some adjustment and clean up. So right now, right around here, we see it's extruding inward. So let's shift and on y-axis extrude it, then and now we just move it up. Okay. And now let's close the gap. We will have to create a few line segments. So first thing is first, let's make it a planar. Move it in, and now remember with the snap tool, see we wanna snap it to edge. I had to redo it because I forgot to select the top edge. And now close the gap. So let's delete this because we just found a better way of doing it. So just take the edge on the y-axis, just extrude it in. Undo that. Select those polygons. Delete them. Then we select those there. Select those edges and extrude them. There we go. Much better. Now let's activate the Y symmetry by adding a symmetry modifier. Okay. It's a bit wonky. Well, this is due to not resetting. This is due to the pivot not being centered. So if we center the pivot right along this axis, so we do that by selecting the hierarchy, then effect pivot only, then using the snap tools, we right click on it and we select vertex, and then apply those by deselecting the effect pivot only and give it a symmetry. Perfect. So it seems that we can select the, so I think we have like a missing edge here, a missing face here. So if we right click on the object and then hide unselected. So yeah, we have a missing face here. So let's go to polygons, delete it, and we select these two faces and split them. So it created those extra faces, we just delete them. And we go back to symmetry. We might want to also do another symmetry on this axis, so we can mirror this one to the other side. So let's create another symmetry. But we first have to change, let's apply all, collapse all, then apply another symmetry modifier. But this time, let's change the pivot to the center of this, to the center of the box. So we have the snap ready effect, then there we go, and flip. So by flipping, because it's taking this side and mirroring to the other one, so if we flip, then it takes this side and flip it to the other way. And this looks good. Collapse all. And hide all. And we are almost there. Now let's start modeling this thing right here. So I will be using a plane for it. And let's begin. So let's go back to the create tab and click plane. Snap to the front view. Just in case, when you have a perspective view and you click on front, it will still give you a perspective view. If you press the F button or the F key, it will make sure it's in orthographic view. So now let's make the plane. Let's bring it forward if it's in the middle. If you press the P key on your keyboard, it will go back to perspective view. Now let's change the pivot to the center. So let's activate symmetry. Let's activate the snap option, and then right there. This will help with the symmetry. And now what goes on the right, you will see the changes on the left. Now let's give this plane an edit poly modifier, and let's reduce the number of segments. Yeah, this looks better. So okay, now back to edit poly, take these two using the scale key, scale it up, and let's move it forward. Let's deactivate snap tool and take these two vertices and move it to the back. Maybe take these two and move it up. That's my node adjustment. Okay. I will now take the center, move it down. In order to make it smooth, we can switch to edge and then chamfer right here. Because of the symmetry, you will not be able to see the chamfer effect, and because it's on the edge, so what we do in this case is add another edit poly modifier on top of the symmetry, and then apply the chamfer tool. There we go. Much better. Now let's give this one also a chamfer. Let's chamfer it, and maybe let's less edges, and this one as well. And in the center we do just weld. There we go. And now let's apply a symmetry to make sure that both sides are equivalent, and then add a push modifier. So let's add an edit poly. Let's select the border, extrude, and then push. Awesome. And collapse all. So let's give it a black color and then apply the same material as the rest, and then push it back. So let's make it a bit smaller. Add another symmetry, and the reason for that, if you look at the image, This seems to be a bit long, and this one is close to the edge of the box. So all we need to do is just select those vertices and move them. Then collapse all. And now let's give a bolt. So this one would be a very simple one. All we need is just, you can do it in any way you want. So I'll use a plane. So go back to the front view, create a plane. Move it forward. Let's just give it one segment in length and one segment in height. Let's add let's convert it to an editable poly. Select vertices. We select only the corner. Use a scale tool and scale it down. And now select those polys. Change to the move tool. Then press and hold shift and move on the y-axis to extrude it. And now let's scale it. And if we want, use a Swift. If you press the shift key, it will make sure that it follows the contour of the object, which is very handy. And change back to the move tool, select vertices, and the center button, just move it up. And that way we have a bolt. Make it a bit circular. Yeah, okay, good enough. This is just a modeling practice, nothing more, nothing less. And now create another one and make it right there. Let's change those colors to black and apply the same materials. Assign to selection. Perfect. And now let's make the strap, the metal strap. So this should be straightforward. All we need is just a box. And what we do is we change it to editable poly, select the face or the polygons, delete those. Now we select the borders and using the scale tool, and we only extruding inward using the Z and Y, just a little bit. And it's not behaving correctly because you need to apply the reset. You could do it also manually. This looks fine. Okay, now let's move it back and up. So let's change it back to vertices. Move it. Make your adjustment. Nice. And now let's select those edges and chamfer them. So I'm not liking the behavior of it and the looks of it, so I will apply reset Xform, reset selected, then apply collapse all. So now try to chamfer it again. It should be uniform now. Yeah, it's no biggie, just a tiny chamfer. This looks good. And now let's give it this button. Let's just make a duplicate by selecting the move tool, shift and move. This will create a copy of the button, and then move it down the x-axis. It seems a bit wider and thinner. So I would assume there's another copy of it in the back. So let's add another one. So in this case we want to flip it by applying the mirror effect. There you go. And then move it inward. Let's make copies of it. Another copy right there. Let's apply those materials. Black. Okay. Then press M for materials, then apply materials to selection. Awesome. And now the center. So we see we can reuse this one. Move it to the middle. And it seems that it doesn't go all the way through. So in the back we will need to use our imagination, but on the front it is pretty clear. So let's make that. So let's hide unselected. So right here I would imagine that any face between the back and the front is deleted. Maybe add a little bit to cover the end. Delete. And delete those as well. And make those a planar. There we go. So based on the picture, so we would need to add a line down the center. Yes, ring and connect. There we go. Okay. Also here, plus, and Alt X to change it to X-ray mode. Move those in. Make this one as a planar, and then using scale tool to scale it up. Well, before doing that, we need to add another edge loop. So this one, then scale. Just to make it a match, so we extrude those edges out. We weld those. Okay. And now we move it down. So let's unhide all. So we select this one, move it down. Okay. And now let's create this thing, the ring holder. Okay, so again, I will be using a plane. So go to the right side, or maybe the left, doesn't matter. Convert it to editable poly. And right now I will do an inset and make it look like a circle. So I could be using like a plugin to circleize it, but I don't have it at this moment. So the best that I can do is just eyeball it. You could create a cylinder and use that as a reference. But it doesn't really matter, to be honest. It's a tiny detail. It's not the greatest circle, so let's create a cylinder. And make it so we have 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 sides. And now we can use snap tool. So what we could do here is change it from 2 3 to 2. That way it doesn't snap to the in a 3 on a Z axis. So, and that way we have like perfect circle. But there are tools out there where it saves you time with that, so you could be doing that instead. So let's do this, and now let's give it a let's extrude it. We can use there is a modifier to get it extrude. I think it's called I forgot what it's called. I'll just look for it. Oh, shell, that's what it is. So this looks good. So let's just move it down in, deactivate snap tool, move it in, make it big. And apply the same material. Let's change the outline to black. And now we just need to create the ring, and this is fairly simple. All we need to do is just create a, which one was it? It's not a tube, is a tube? Yeah, it is. Maybe it's a torso. Yeah, it's a torso. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Let's make it a bit narrow. Now let's give it a material, and let's give it also a black outline. And that is it. It's not a very difficult project. It's quite simple, and I hope you have enjoyed it, and thank you so much, and goodbye for now. Bye.